Almost 2 months ago, The Rock made his return to WWE, and he pretty much stated that since his return, pro wrestling, or in this case WWE, wrestling itself was cool again. And most people attribute that statement to The Rock's current final boss heel gimmick, which would make sense. Attributing himself all this credit as to why WWE is experiencing sellout after sellout after sellout after sellout when it comes to Raw and SmackDown. But as wrestling fans and as members of the IWC, we have to ask ourselves, is wrestling cool again? Will wrestling ever be cool again? Since when has wrestling been cool again? And look, it's not hard to admit that as wrestling fans, you have got to have been enjoying the Bloodline storyline for the past almost 4 years at this point. It's been one of the best crafted stories WWE has put out in over 2 decades, bar none. But one thing is, it's still being attractive, still being highly entertaining for the hardcore wrestling fans, which in my opinion is around 1 million, maybe a little bit more viewers that are considered actual hardcore fans, the core of the wrestling fandom that watches WWE relentlessly, that watches AEW relentlessly, that watches Impact, or TNA Wrestling in this case, Major League Wrestling, NWA, and the Indies. Those are the hardcore wrestling audience. But here's the thing. We're on the road to WrestleMania, biggest weekend in pro wrestling. Everyone out there, everyone is putting on a show in Philadelphia for WrestleMania weekend. And it's the smart thing to do. It's a business. You have 70 to 100,000 wrestling fans flocking to Philadelphia for the biggest show of the year. You have to take advantage of that. But wrestling right now, and it seems that for the foreseeable future, will never be as cool as it was during the Attitude Era. As big as it was during the Rock and Wrestling Era. That's never going to happen again, at least not for the foreseeable future. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, this entire storyline of the Bloodline is helping to keep the hardcore wrestling fans engaged with the product. But for those that think that The Rock returning and being the final boss and playing this character out on WWE TV, which is different, which is highly entertaining, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. I'm not taking anything away from him, but we've seen this before. The Rock came back once before and nothing changed. He came back in 2011, and even though he had less appearances than he does right now, from 2011 to 2013, he was a part of 3 WrestleManias, storytelling wise. Excuse me. He was WWE champion at one point, and fans paid attention to it, of course. I mean, he's one of the most famous men, one of the most recognizable men on the planet. Of course they're going to pay attention. But guess what? He left. He wasn't a focal part of the industry, and he can't be anymore. He wasn't then in 2013, and he can't be right now in 2024. I'm sorry. He's a Hollywood movie star. That's his place now. That's where he belongs. That's where he makes the most money. That's where people love him the most. And it seems like WWE back then, wrestling back then, went into a recession of sorts after The Rock left. After The Rock stopped being a part of major storylines back in 2013. And you had John Cena at the height of his character, of his popularity, of his accolades, leading the company. Just like right now you have Roman Reigns and possibly Cody Rhodes, if he can finish his story and finally become a world champion in WWE. You have those two leading the charge for WWE. So we can hope all we want when The Rock leaves, what kind of impact he's going to be able to have on the business after he leaves. But previous times that he's been a part of pro wrestling and he's left, nothing's happened. Pro wrestling is cool. Again, WWE is cool again to the hardcore wrestling fans and to whoever the casual wrestling fans out there, whenever they choose to join any content, any broadcast of WWE or AEW. But there's way too much entertainment. There's way too many forms of TV, of movies, of reality shows, everything. There's absolutely no chance in hell pro wrestling will ever be as big, as important, and as focal to the TV audience, to the mainstream audience as it was during the Rock and Wrestling era and during the Attitude era. I'm sorry. Even with WrestleMania 40 coming up, Philadelphia, we've seen this many times before. It is what it is, man. And all we can do as pro wrestling fans is not be gatekeepers. Not be members of this ridiculous and stupid tribalism of AEW and WWE. And then who gets left out? The casual fan who doesn't care about the IWC's tribalism. And just like any fandom out there, the hardcore wrestling fan base is toxic as hell. They like to keep things to themselves. They like to be snobs when it comes to wrestling. And that is obviously gonna, keep fans away from joining in the experience. Because it's not worth getting into a social media battle. Toxic fighting with wrestling fans who believe AEW is only for them, or WWE is only for them, or TNA is only for them. That's ridiculous. But again, I digress. Those are my thoughts on if wrestling is cool again, if it'll ever be cool again. I doubt it. I hope it is. But it's very, very hard to see that happening in the very near future. But if you have different thoughts, if you have a different vision for the current pro wrestling industry, leave it in the comments section below. With that said, SmackDown tonight, storylines were advanced. Jade Cargill, the Storm, arrived. She's going to be a part of WrestleMania. She's tagging with Bianca Belair and Naomi to face off against the rest of Damage Control. We got Rey Mysterio teaming with Dragon Lee against Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio in a tag team match. And we got Paul Heyman making a statement that shocked everybody out there. But is it true? We'll just have to wait and find out. But did Roman Reigns demand The Rock to attack Cody Rhodes as viciously as he did on Monday Night Raw? And would The Rock even accept that kind of demand from his tribal chief? We'll have to wait and see. We're about a week away from WrestleMania now. It's getting exciting. So with that said, I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.